Hello and welcome to Nature Days Outdoor Learning Resources, sponsored by the Gower Society. Now my challenge for you today is to undertake a geography inquiry. Now what that means is that you're going to undertake a process that requires you to look at the environment around you and to ask a question and then trying to find the answer to that question. Now I've got some ideas for some questions you could do in your local area. And if you can't hear all the ones that I'm going to mention now, you can't remember them, if you look on the Nature Days blog, I've listed them all there, and I've even created a worksheet for you that you can look through, and it goes through the whole process of the inquiry system. So the first thing we're going to do is to have a question. Now, the questions you could ask is, what is the landscape around my local area like? What do the people think of my local area? What are the habitats in my local area? What are the rivers in my local area like? What are the houses in my local area like? What traffic passes through my local area? What is the soundscape of my local area? And what is the weather in my local area? Now, if you want to make up your own question, that's absolutely fine. You can even use the same structure that I've used. So it's going to be a descriptive inquiry that you're going to do. So you're going to describe what you see or what you hear or what you find out. So the next thing you need to do is to collect some data. So get some information so that you can answer that question. And that means you have to get outside and you might have to measure something. You might have to count something. You might have to ask people some questions. So it's all about gathering information. So to do that, you need to plan. You need to think about what you need. Do you need equipment? Do you need to have a results table that you can fill in as you go along? Will you need to ask people questions? So can you write those questions down first in a questionnaire before you go and talk to them? Once you think you've got everything set and you know what you're doing, then you're going to go out and do your data collecting. But make sure you're safe. You need to bring an adult with you and make sure that you're being aware of what's going on. Because if you're asking people questions and you're standing in the middle of the road, or if you're looking at the cars and you're standing in the road, you're going to be in danger. So be safe. Once you've collected all your data to answer your questions, we need to look at that data and see if we can make some sense of it. And the best way to do that is to present it in a picture. Now that picture might be a map. So if you're describing your landscape around your house, you might have a map that you could then draw where the hills are, or where the rivers are, or where the houses are. And that map will be your data presentation. Could be that you've counted something. So maybe you've counted how many people like where you live. You could draw a graph of that with the number of people along the y-axis, along the side, and then along the bottom you could have whether they liked it, really liked it, didn't like it much, or weren't sure. And we could make a bar graph using the data that you found. You might also take some photos. So if you want to find out what your area is like, so the landscape features, and you didn't want to draw them, you could actually take photos and annotate them. Or if you like drawing, you could do a field sketch. So have a look around and draw in the landscape features. And that's your data presentation as well. Once you've done that, you need to look at those graphs, all those pictures, all those maps, and see if you can answer that question that you started with. And if you can, you need to write down the answer. And then you need to think about, was it a good investigation? Did you actually come up with a good answer? Or did you actually find out, there wasn't a lot of information that I gathered. I think I need to gather some more information. So for example, if you wanted to find out what people thought of your local area and you asked 3 people and they all said, yeah, it's great. Do you think that's enough people? So this is what we call an evaluation. You need to look at what you did and see if you can make it better next time. So if you were going to do it again, how would you improve it? Also, make sure you write down what you think went really well. If you think it was a great investigation, you got lots of good data, you presented it in a really nice way, then it could be that you've got some positive things to say about your inquiry. And then lastly, think about what you've learnt as you've done your inquiry and think about something you still haven't found out. So is there a new question that's come up based on what you've done in your inquiry? So this is what we call the cycle of the inquiry process. You start with a question and then you investigate it, you come up with the answer, which is a conclusion, but then it probably draws up a new question that gets you back up to the top, and you go round and round. So now you've started on this inquiry spiral, and hopefully that means you will forever be happy to look at the environment, come up with questions, investigate them, and then look for new questions. And that's how you start to be a really good geographer. Now, if you have a go at doing an inquiry, I would love to see anything that you produce, be it some photos that you've annotated, a map, or maybe some graphs, or just the question and the answer. So please do tweet them, #NatureDays, or put them on the Facebook page. And I look forward to seeing you again. Now, if there's any teachers out there who have enjoyed this inquiry, then I'm actually presenting at the GA, the Geographical Association's conference online in April, on the 10th of April, and I'm presenting on how to do geographical inquiries and how to make sure your fieldwork is progressive from Key Stage 2 all the way up to A level. So if you want to find out more about inquiries, how to create a really good inquiry title, a suitable one for the age group, and to ensure progression through the year groups, then please do come along to the GA conference, and I'll be presenting there on behalf of WJEC and EduCAS. If not, see you again next week for our next outdoor challenge.